Did you know I went from owing the equivalent of around £5,000, while earning just over £3,000 a year, to bringing in more than £130,000 in only a year? And at first, I had no idea what I was doing. I wasn't a genius. I wasn't educated. I simply changed what was happening inside my head. Now think with me, do you really need intelligence or a degree to become wealthy, or just a clear idea and enough persistence not to give up until it becomes real? I was drowning. Owing more than I could count, earning a little over £3,000 per year, and watching my life slip away. And in the middle of this chaos, someone asked me a question that stopped me in my tracks: what do you really want? I didn't know how to answer. And you? Would you know? The truth is, most people have never truly stopped to think about that. They focus on what they think is possible, on what's left after life has beaten them down. But what do you really want? What would make your heart race just imagining it? Back then, all I wanted was money. Just enough to breathe. And then that man said to me, take a card. Write your goal on it. Keep it with you. Read it every single day. I thought it was silly. But I did it anyway. I wrote, I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm earning £20,000. That felt like asking for £1 million. I didn't even know anyone who had that kind of money. It sounded ridiculous. And maybe that's exactly why it worked. I didn't believe in the goal. But I believed that he believed it. And that was enough to get me moving. Do you know what started to happen? I began thinking about earning money. It might sound obvious, but until that point, all I ever thought about was debt. How will I pay rent? How do I get out of this? How do I hide the shame? And when your mind is filled with debt, what do you attract? More debt. Because your focus is on what's missing, not on what you want to achieve. Does that sound familiar? How many times have you woken up worried about bills? And how many times have you woken up excited about a goal? At the time, I heard there was decent money in floor cleaning. I thought, well, I'm not too proud. If that's what's available, that's what I'll do. And that's how I started. I got a contract to clean an office on Comstock Road in Toronto for about £100 a month. Then I got another for about £450. Before I knew it, I was making over £600 a month, more than my old salary of around £320. And here comes the magic moment, everything started to shift. Not because the world changed, but because I changed my focus. My brain stopped searching for problems and started searching for solutions. My radar, which used to pick up only obstacles, began spotting opportunities. It's astonishing how this works. Psychology has proven that what we focus on expands. The reticular activating system in our brain filters what we notice and shows us only what aligns with our repeated thoughts. In other words, if you think scarcity, you'll see more scarcity. If you think possibilities, you'll start noticing opportunities. In less than a year, I was earning over £10,000 a month. That's £130,000 per year. I had gone from just over £3,000 a year to more than £130,000. And not because I became a genius or got an inheritance. It was because I wrote something on a card, believed in it, and let that belief push me forward. A small, seemingly pointless action. But it changed everything. So tell me, have you written down what you want, in exact terms? Or do you only think about it now and then, when you have a moment left at the end of the day? Do you carry that image with you? Or do you let your mind drift with what others think is possible for you? You don't need to believe in it straight away. I didn't either. But believe that it's possible to believe. And that's already a start. Think with me, if you woke up every day with a clear goal, repeating it, reading it, visualizing it, how long would your life still feel the same? Wouldn't you start seeing opportunities where before you only saw walls? And what if today, right now, you took a piece of paper and wrote, I'm so happy and grateful now that I earn, and finished it with a number that feels outrageous to you? What would change in a week? In a month? You don't need to know **how**. The how shows up when the what is clear. That card I wrote became my daily reminder that I was allowed to want more. It wasn't magical, but it became sacred. Because it changed how I saw myself. And when that changes, the whole world around you does too. If it worked for me, then it can certainly work for you too. Because, at its core, this isn't about money. It's about making a decision about the kind of life you believe you deserve to live. And sticking to that decision until it becomes the only possible option. You may know exactly what you want, but if your mind is programmed with limiting beliefs, everything you do will feel like trying to run with the handbrake on. That's what I discovered after years of struggling, studying, reading, attending seminars, and listening to audio programs. I had the knowledge, but the results weren't showing up. I felt frustrated, confused, and worst of all, I felt like the problem was me. But the problem was never a lack of information. The problem was that no one had taught me how to change what truly controls our life, the paradigm. A paradigm is a set of deeply ingrained beliefs and habits residing in our subconscious mind. It dictates how you behave, how you react, and how much you believe you're worthy of receiving. It convinces you that earning more than £3,000 a month is impossible. It sabotages you without you even noticing. And the scariest part is, most of this paradigm was formed when you were a child, or even before you were born. Just imagine. All the information you received from your parents, teachers, the media, religion, and culture, it all went straight into your subconscious mind. You didn't have the rational capacity to question any of it. You simply accepted it. And over time, all of that became your personal truth. You learnt, for instance, that money is hard to earn. That wealthy people are greedy. That dreaming big is dangerous. That stability matters more than freedom. And with such beliefs rooted deeply within you, how could you possibly thrive? I only started to change when I understood this. That's when I came across the work of Val van der Waal. He drew a simple image of the mind that made everything clear to me. It looked childish, but it was the most powerful thing I had ever seen. He divided the mind into two parts, the conscious and the subconscious. The conscious mind thinks, chooses, and analyses. But the subconscious controls the results. And the subconscious doesn't choose, it merely accepts and repeats. Science has already proven this. Studies from the University of California have shown that up to 95% of our daily decisions are made automatically, without engaging logical thought. That's your autopilot. And if your autopilot is programmed to avoid risk, to live on the edge, to be suspicious of anything that seems too good to be true, then that's exactly what you'll attract and repeat. Have you ever said, I know what I need to do, but I just can't seem to do it? That's your paradigm in action. And here's the brutal truth, you can have the best plan, the most promising opportunities, the strongest network, but if your paradigm doesn't change, nothing changes. Think about it. How many brilliant people do you know who struggle financially? And how many others, with barely any formal education, thriving? I myself, if placed in a room with 200 people, would probably find that half of them are more intelligent than I am. But that never stopped me from earning millions of pounds. Because I changed my internal operating system. And I did that through repetition. The same way your paradigm was installed, through repeated ideas, phrases, and experiences, is the same way you reprogram it. That's what I did by carrying a card with my goal written on it. That's what I did by visualizing, every single day, the person I wanted to become. I stopped letting the world decide for me. I chose what entered my mind. I turned off the news. I distanced myself from negative people. And I started saying no to anything that wasn't aligned with my new self. Have you ever tried doing that for 7 days? Try it. Go 7 days without consuming any negative news. 7 days without complaining. 7 days of only listening to, reading, and speaking things that align with who you want to be. It sounds simple, but it's transformative. What you need to understand is that it's not your fault that you think the way you do today. But it is your responsibility to change it. Because if you don't reprogram your mind, the world will continue programming it for you. And the world out there is full of messages of fear, lack, and limitation. Constantly. When you realize this, you stop blaming yourself. And you begin to set yourself free. Because from that moment on, you understand that you can create a new truth. And if you create a new truth, you create a new life. No matter where you're starting from. Do you remember when I was drowning in debt, with no qualifications, no direction, and no vision for my future? Everything changed the moment I shifted something within myself. And for you, real change will also begin from the inside. Have you ever considered how a simple calculator could completely transform your financial life? I'm not exaggerating. I literally reprogrammed my mindset by playing with numbers. It wasn't magic, it was awareness. I was on a long-haul flight around 25 hours from Toronto to Kuala Lumpur. Alone in the quiet cabin, I had nothing but a notebook and a calculator. I began crunching numbers. It struck me that if I earned around £3,000 a week for 50 weeks, that would amount to approximately £150,000 a year. Simple, right? But what truly shocked me wasn't the number itself, it was the mental shift it triggered. I realized I'd spent my entire life believing that earning £150,000 a year was something unreachable, reserved for geniuses, heirs, or celebrities. But on that flight, that belief crumbled. That's how powerful internal change is. When you start to play with numbers, something inside you begins to shift. Scarcity starts to dissolve. The impossible becomes a calculation. And calculations can be learned. You can start right now. Take a sheet of paper and write down how much you want to earn in a year. Let's say £150,000. Divide it by 12. Then divide it by 4. Then by 7. You'll see you don't need to make a giant leap, you need consistency. You need clarity. You need to realize that the number that scares you only does so because you're not looking at it as a step-by-step process. Most people never do this. Do you know why? Because they are afraid to stare the number in the face. They say, I want to be rich, but they never stop to define what that actually means. They speak about freedom, but they are trapped in bills and debts because they lack the courage to face what it would truly take to change. And that's not due to a lack of ability, it's a lack of practice. A lack of habit when it comes to thinking big, with detail. During that same flight, another truth hit me: every millionaire I knew didn't rely on just one source of income. They had multiple streams. That's when the idea of the £1 Million Forum came to life. As soon as I landed, I called Mark Victor Hansen, yes, the same one behind Chicken Soup for the Soul. I woke him in the middle of the night, but he was just as excited as I was. Soon we were gathering people like Jack Canfield, Bernie Dorman, and Lee Poulos, creating a powerful immersive experience to teach ordinary people how to reach extraordinary financial levels. Hundreds, maybe even thousands, of people attended that seminar and left with their minds completely reprogrammed. Do you know why? Because we forced them to think about money logically and repetitively. And that, my friend, is practically alchemy. The brain learns through repetition. Repetition is the language of the subconscious. If you repeat an idea every day with emotion, clarity, and intent, your subconscious begins to accept it as truth. And once it does, it seeks proof. And the universe responds. Neuroscience proves it. Your brain builds new synaptic pathways based on what you consistently focus on. Have you heard of the exposure effect? The more often you're exposed to an idea, the more familiar it becomes. And what's familiar becomes comfortable. That's why people born into wealth tend to stay wealthy, they're used to those numbers. And you can become used to them too, even if you were born into poverty. That's what I did. I stopped seeing £150,000 as an impossible goal. I started viewing it as smaller, achievable segments. And believe me, once you see it that way, opportunities begin to appear. You start to see routes. You attract people. You hear different conversations. You begin to operate on the mental frequency of what you desire. Someone once asked me, Bob, do you honestly think just doing sums can change someone's life? And I replied, it's not just the sums, it's what they do to your mind. They stop you from running. They make you take responsibility. They help you see that yes, it's possible. So let me ask you this, have you ever done this exercise seriously? Have you shut yourself away for 20 minutes, with nothing but paper, a pen, and a calculator, to explore how many ways you could realistically reach your financial goal? Try it. Do it every day for a week. No distractions. Play with the numbers. Create scenarios. Imagine sources of income. Watch as new paths begin to open right in front of you. The most important thing of all is to feel what you would if what you long for were already real right now. Because if you can clearly imagine it, you've already taken the first step towards making it real. I used to be a man drowning in debt, earning just around £11,000 a year, with a head full of doubts. The only thing I did was play with numbers every single day. Again and again. Until what once seemed impossible no longer felt that way. And from that moment on, it was only a matter of time. Have you ever asked yourself why you're still stuck in a place you don't like, doing something that doesn't fulfill you, even though you know it's draining you from the inside? The answer is simple but powerful: you haven't made room. There's a law of nature called the law of the vacuum. It says that the universe doesn't tolerate emptiness. Whenever you remove something, something new must come in to fill the space. But do you know what most people do? They hold tightly to what they already have, afraid to let go, not realizing that this is exactly what keeps them from receiving something better. I've lived through it myself. At a time when I was already making a decent income, about £55,000 a year, while living in London, I started going to the famous Playboy Club on Park Lane, right next to the London Hilton. I was spending money like mad. Sometimes I'd walk out of there feeling like I was winning, but in truth, I was losing the most valuable thing of all: direction. One night, I left that place and went straight to my room. I sat on the bed, completely alone. And in that silence, I asked myself, what am I doing with my life? It wasn't a moment of euphoria. It was like a punch in the gut. I realized that while everything looked amazing on the outside, inside I was sabotaging myself. I was becoming irresponsible, no longer aligned with what I knew was right. And the scariest part? I was getting used to it. I was starting to believe that kind of behavior was acceptable. That's when I understood, wealth without awareness is disguised ruin. I needed to make space for a new version of myself. That same week, I began distancing myself from everything that was pulling me backwards: habits, people, even places that no longer made sense. And it was precisely then that my mission as a mentor and educator began to take shape. When you choose to cut away all that's not aligned with the person you want to become, the universe responds. And maybe right now you're stuck in a job you hate, surrounded by people who drain your energy, clinging to habits you know are slowly destroying you. And you tell yourself, this is all I've got. I can't just leave it. I don't have a choice. But the truth is, you do. You always have. The problem is you're waiting for certainty from the new before letting go of the old. And that will never happen. You need to move first. You need to trust. You need to create the vacuum first. This is one of the most overlooked laws by those trying to change their lives. They say they want a new relationship, but won't leave the one that's hurting them. They want a new job, but stay in the one that kills their dreams day by day. They want to grow, but still surround themselves with those who fear flying. You need to ask yourself now, what am I clinging to that's taking up space from what I truly desire? I've seen people take incredible leaps just because they made a brave decision. One woman who attended one of my seminars had been trapped for years in a position that drained her emotionally. After learning about the law of the vacuum, she chose to resign the next day, even though she had no other job lined up. 3 weeks later, she got a call from a company she had dreamt of working for years, and she hadn't even sent them her CV. Coincidence? Absolutely not. She simply made space. The data is clear. A study conducted by Harvard University showed that people who remain for too long in environments that don't challenge or inspire them are significantly more likely to develop symptoms of depression and anxiety. It's not just spiritual. It's scientific. Your energy adapts to your surroundings. And if your environment is pulling you down, you either change it, or you go down with it. You can choose to break the cycle right now. But you must do it with intention. Let the universe know you're ready. That you want more. That you deserve more. And maybe the new won't appear right away. Maybe there will be a few days of silence. But that silence is sacred. It's what prepares the way. It's within that stillness that the new frequency begins to vibrate. As you move along this journey, you come to realize something far deeper. The emptiness you fear facing is not a lack, it is pure potential. It is the space where extraordinary things unfold. And once you truly grasp that, you'll no longer tolerate carrying anything within you that falls short of your greatness. That's what happened to me. And it can happen to you as well. If there's one single message you should carry with you from everything we've discussed today, it's this: you can completely transform your life by changing what takes place inside your mind. The external world has no choice but to reflect your inner world. And it all begins with a decision. A small shift in perception. A single, different step. And when you take that step with clarity and courage, the entire universe responds. If you felt that this spoke to something within you, then the next video that's now appearing on your screen is your next step. There, you'll ascend to another level in this journey towards wisdom, and you'll become 1% better than you are right now. And that 1%, my friend, can change everything. Thank you so much for being here with me. I'll see you in the next video. Let's continue this journey together.